There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, we lift our hands. We lift our voice. We celebrate champion. We sing hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. We lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. Yahuwah is the awesome one, and there is none like you. With you we win, you're our champion. With you we can lose, we always win. Oh, we lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah. We lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. Yahuwah is the awesome one, our champion. With you we can lose, we always win. You're our champion. Oh, there's none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose, we always win. You're our champion. Oh, Yahuwah is the awesome one, and there is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose, we always win. You're our champion. Oh, Yahuwah is the awesome one. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose, we always win. You're our champion. Oh, Yahuwah is the awesome one, and there is none like you. With you we win. none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can't lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, you are the awesome one. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can't lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, you are the awesome one. There is none like you. With you we can't lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, you are the awesome one. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can't lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, you are the awesome. You we win. You're our champion. With you we can't lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, you are the awesome one. And there's none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can't lose. We always win. Champion. Oh, we lift our hands. We lift our voice. We celebrate our champion. We sing hello, hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. We lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hello, hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. We lift our hands, we lift our voice, we celebrate our champion. We sing hello, hallelujah, for the King who is victorious. Yeshua is the awesome one, and there is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can't lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, you are the awesome one, and there is none like you. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, Shabbat Shalom, as we're here to celebrate, commemorate a time of rest, a time where we cease from all our physical labor, but a time to come in and participate in celebrating and worshiping the Abba in a time of study. And so we want to begin with the Baruch of the Torah. Repeat with me, Baruch Yahuwah.
Baruch Yahuwah.
The Baruch one.
The Baruch one.
Baruch is Yahuwah.
Baruch is Yahuwah.
The Baruch one.
The Baruch one.
For all eternity.
For all eternity.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Our supreme one.
Our supreme one.
King of the universe.
King of the
Who
universe.
selected us from all the peoples.
Who selected us from all the peoples.
And gave us his Torah.
And gave us his Torah.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Giver of the Torah.
Giver of the Torah.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Baruch atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Our supreme one.
Our supreme one.
King of the universe.
King of the
Who
universe.
gave us the Torah of truth.
Who gave us
Atah.
Baruch atah.
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Giver of the Torah.
Giver of the Torah.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Now we have the reading of the Ten Commandments done by Mattathias.
Deuteronomy 5, verses 6 to 22. Aleph. I am Yahuwah, your power, which brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim from the bed of slavery. Bed usually have no other power. You shall not make you any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in Shemayim above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the mind beneath the earth. You shall not bow down yourself unto them, nor serve them. For I, Yahuwah, your power, am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the hours upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that harm me and keep my commandments. Gimel. You shall not take the name of Yahuwah your power and falsify it, for Yahuwah will not hold him guiltless that takes his name and empties it. Dalet, guard the Sabbath day to set it apart, as Yahuwah your power has commanded you. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahuwah your power. In it you shall not do any work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your manservant, nor your maidservant, nor your ox, nor your ass, nor any of your cattle, nor your foreigner that is within your gates, that your manservant and your maidservant may rest as well as you. And remember that you were a servant in the land of Mitzrayim, and that Yahuwah your power brought you out of there through a mighty hand and by a stretched out arm. Therefore Yahuwah your power commanded you to keep the Sabbath day. Hey, esteem your Ab and your Im as Yahuwah your power has commanded you, that your days may be prolonged and that it may go well with you in the land which Yahuwah your power is about to give you. Why? You shall not murder. Zain, neither shall you commit adultery. Ket, neither shall you steal. Tet, neither shall you bear false witness against your neighbor. You, neither shall you desire your neighbor's Isha, neither shall you covet your neighbor's bed, his field, or his to all your assembly in the mount, out of the midst of the fire, of the cloud, and of the thick darkness with a great voice. And he added no more. And he wrote them in 2 tables of stone and delivered them unto me. And it is so.
And it is so. Devarim chapter 6, verses 1 through 18, and it reads, These are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments which Yahuwah your power commanded to teach you, that you might do them in the land where you're going to enter and possess it, that you might fear Yahuwah your power to keep all his statutes and his commands, which I command you, you and your son and your grandson, all the young men of your life, and that your young men may be prolonged. Hear therefore, O Yasharal, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah your power has commanded you, and that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah power of your Abbas has promised you in the land that flows with milk and honey. Shemath Yasharal, Yahuwah our power, Yahuwah is Akkad. Hear, O Yasharal, Yahuwah our supreme one, Yahuwah is Akkad. And you shall ahab Yahuwah your supreme one with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. And these words which I command you this yom shall be in your heart, and you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your bed, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. To fall to what?
To bind to the mind.
To bind to the mind. So important to bind this to our mind. And you shall write them upon the posts of your bed and upon your gates. And it shall be when Yahuwah your power shall have brought you into the land which he swore to your fathers to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Yaakov, to give you great cities which you did not build, houses full of all great things which you filled not, and wells dug which you did not dig, vineyards and olive trees which you did not plant. When you shall have eaten and be full, then beware lest you forget Yahuwah, which brought you forth out of the land of Mitzrayim from the bed of slavery. You shall fear Yahuwah your power, and serve him, and shall swear by his name. And you shall not go after the power of the people which are round about you. For Yahuwah your power is a jealous power among you, lest the anger of Yahuwah your power be kindled against you, and he destroy you from off the face of the earth. You shall not tempt Abba Yahuwah your power as you tempted him in Massa. You shall diligently keep the commandments of Yahuwah your power, and his testimonies and his statutes which he has commanded you. And you shall do that which is right in the sight of Yahuwah, that it may be well with you, and that you may go in and possess the great land which Yahuwah sworn to your fathers. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Let us have another song, please. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power, we sing the highest praise to you. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power, we sing the highest praise to you. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power, we sing the highest praise to you. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power, we sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, We sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power. We sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power. We sing the highest praise to you. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power. We sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power. We sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power. We sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power. We sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power. We sing the highest praise to you. For who you are, Yahuwah, our great power. We sing the highest praise to you. Oh, we sing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Yahuwah
Is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's power
Yahuwah's power
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's wisdom
Yahuwah's wisdom
is in me.
is in me.
He is leading. He is teaching me. I'm sorry.
He is teaching me.
He is leading me.
He is leading me.
I am a child of Yahuwah.
I am a child of Yahuwah.
The Ruach HaKodesh of
HaKodesh
Yahuwah in me
of Yahuwah in me.
is leading. Follow her leading.
Lead.
In the Torah.
I walk in the Torah.
Yahush.
Yahush.
Our Mashiach.
Our Mashiach.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Our declaration on this Sabbath, on this Shabbat. Repeat with me. Abba Yahuwah.
Abba Yahuwah.
In the name of Yahush.
In the name of Yahush.
Our Mashiach.
Our Mashiach.
We subdue ignorance.
We subdue ignorance
With Torah knowledge.
with Torah knowledge.
And through this knowledge.
And through this knowledge
of Torah truth.
of Torah truth.
We claim healing.
We claim healing,
Shalom.
shalom,
Deliverance.
deliverance,
And salvation.
and salvation.
We decree.
We decree
Torah truth.
Torah truth
In the lives.
in the lives
Our people.
of our people.
Yasharal.
Yasharal.
We unite.
We unite
Not to fight.
not to fight,
Not to fight.
not to fight
Each other.
each other,
Each other.
each other,
But the enemy.
but the enemy
Of our belief.
of our belief.
And it is so.
And it is so.
I decree a time of rest, shalom, and truth in Yahuwah through Yahushua al-Mashiach. And it is so.
And it is so.
Now as we prepare to stand before our King, repeat with me. May the utterance of my mouth
May the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation of my heart
and the deliberation of my heart
be desirable before you.
be desirable before you,
O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
my rock,
my rock,
and my redeemer.
and my redeemer.
May the utterance of my mouth
May the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation of my heart
and the deliberation of my heart
be desirable before you.
be desirable before you,
O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
my rock,
my rock,
and my redeemer.
and my redeemer.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
We have just recited Tehillim 19 and 14, and it is so.
And it is so.
You may be seated in His presence. As we are yet here in the city, in South Carolina, plans were to be in the country, but the weather said differently for us, and so we are here and do anything to try to help. Now, you have to understand what I'm saying here on this young. As a people, whenever was confronted, the others will come to the rescue. They will come to the rescue. But we can't come to one another's rescue if we are not together. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
We can't do that. When you have a whole lot of stuff going on and a whole lot of, it's going to cause problems. And so this is one of the main guiding factors of us as a people. As the Abba gave me, we unite not to fight each other, but the enemy of our belief. He gave me this. Why? Because until we understand that our uniting is what's going to keep us strong and keep us from being easily picked off. And watch this. When the enemy recognizes, understands that we are a clan, that we are a tribe, and that if you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us, they will begin to back down. But they will not, they don't see that because it's not seen.
Right.
And I'm not saying just with, the elite or the ones that people call, those that are in the forefront. I'm talking about everybody, because whether you're in the front, the back, the middle, you are part of the nation of Yasharal.
That's right.
And so when we understand that, we will begin to truly protect one another. Now we'll let somebody come on. I said in the beginning, I may not agree with everything all of our people say, but if you are who you say you are, and I see fruit, that's number one. I got to see fruit, and I got to see that you are really living this life. Then, of course, I'm going to come in and help and defend you. Right. But if you just can't defend something, if you don't know who or what you're defending, right, you could be defending an agent.
Exactly.
Just because a person says they're Hebrew or have a Hebrew name doesn't mean they are Hebrew. An apple tree, until it shows forth apples. These leaders, for the most part, we call the Shoftim. The Shoftim led makeshift armies, but they did not have to face the forces of the major empires. Through most of the period of the Shoftim, Mitzrayim and the countries of Mesopotamia were weak and preoccupied with internal problems. And we know that to be true because of Yahuwah, skittish people. They already don't know whether or not they really want to do this. And then you start involving them and trying to involve them and introduce them into areas of your life they're not ready for. What am I saying? You have to remember, when it was time for them to go and spy out the land, it was not supposed to be but 3 people that go, but there was more than 3. Why? Because the elder said we need to put more people out there, because the more people come back with a better report, the better it will be. Well, it worked in the opposite, because the Abba did not tell them. So the people, you say, hey, go get this or look at this for me, and they come back, and then you got half of them saying this and that and the other. Now they done stirred everybody else up into fear, believing that we can't do it, can't get done. When the people that should have gone should have been the 2 that came back with the great report, Caleb and Yahush. Are you following me? Yes. Qualified to go. Caleb was there, and Caleb said, hey, this is mine. Now, mind you, he took them out, no issue whatsoever, because he heard me. I don't want to be there. Give them back, because now they want you to have means for them to always know what's going on and control you. The more I read, the more I realize how escalated. No, the European man or the Caucasian man is not the Edomites. This is another switch. This is another form of judgment that the Abba has raised up to get our attention. And one thing about this people, they have no conscience. They have no conscience. They don't in your face and turn right around and stab you in your face. They have no conscience. They care nothing about no one but the survival of their own race. Why do you think in the last, let's go back, say, between 5 to 10 years, we've had so many health exercise equipment stuff coming about? Our people, we lived and we could survive and do because we ate and we worked the land. But now when you start looking at all this stuff, who do you think created this stuff, and why do you think they created it? For the survival of their own people. If nothing, if Dr. Sebi didn't say anything right, he said this: everything that comes out of the ground is organic. We're the only ones running around town. I got to go get something organic. If it's in the store, you better see, did this come up out the ground? Did this come off a tree? Then it's organic.
Right.
It's organic. Problem comes in is that they know how to talk a talk that makes us feel like, man, we either stupid or we behind the time. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Because of the language and how they put it out there. So we get caught up in this. But you have to understand, it is about the survival of their people. Just like in that time, it was about the survival of the people that was on that land. Are y'all following?
Yes.
They didn't want to leave, and they did not leave. And because that was perpetuated and that was burned into the minds of our people, guess what? That filtered over into the time that we're in now. Well, they ain't gonna leave, they ain't gonna do right, so we just learn to live with them. And then what do they tell you to do? Well, you know, walk circumspectly, walk, tiptoe around them, tiptoe my foot. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
No. But this is what has been perpetuated. I have to read the writings. They did not remove the people. And the people they believe were forced into labor. Them people were not forced into labor. You can't force the people to work where they live. It's more of an advantage to them to just do it and make you believe you're forcing them than to say, oh, they're forcing me. Oh, you're making me stay in my house. Oh, you're making me work here. Oh, you're just doing so much to me. I'm just, oh. Because they knew eventually y'all gonna mess up royally and it's gonna all be back in our hands. We can't play these games. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
You can't do those things. Now nobody will move them. Now listen what it says. The Asherite lived among. Now listen what it said. But Zebulun did subject them to forced labor. Nor did Asher drive out those living in Acco or Sidon or Hala or Axil or Helba or Aphek or Rehob. The Asherites lived among the Canaanites, inhabitants of the land, because they did not drive them out. Now listen what it says. They lived among the Canaanites, meaning y'all, not y'all live with me. And this is supposed to be my inheritance. So you have to understand, once again, when something is perpetuated and left, it will continue to be perpetuated. This is how come people come and squat on people. She's going on now. But she had land in a place called McCormick, a great aunt of ours. And the people, the son of one of the brothers, because he was a city man and was nasty and they were country, he went and he allowed these gypsies to get on the land. Anybody understands anything about when you let them get in your stuff and on your stuff, if you're not careful, your stuff will be taken from you. They got on there, and from there they started doing all kind of stuff. By now, they probably own that land. And instead of selling it back to the family and keeping it there, he was so angry that he was willing to sell it to, if they wanted to buy it, sell it to them. Now you got to understand what they'll do. They will wait, and they will go to the courts, and they will look up that land, and they will wait, and they'll wait. And the time it opens up, they'll buy it, and then they'll be in that little plot. And they will own every piece of that land that was not theirs. Now watch it. And then people then fought from slavery to where they are now, and somebody else will have it. And they'll be living as neighbors. No, we can't live as neighbors. I don't want you as my neighbor. Are you following me?
Yes.
This is important for us to understand. When you don't drive out the enemy is going to be a problem. They gonna only be cordial with you for a season. And when that season is up, you might as well get ready to pay the piper. Neither did Naphtali drive out those living in Beth Shemesh or Beth Anath, but the Nephtalites too lived among the Canaanites, inhabitants of the land, and those living in Beth Shemesh and Beth Anath became forced laborers for them. They didn't do anything. They didn't do anything. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
The Amorites, verse 34, confined the Danites to the hill country, not allowing them to come down into the plain. Now they forced them, but look what they did to the tribe of Dan. They said, but we ain't gonna let y'all come down. We're gonna make you stay right where you are. This is why when you start thinking about if they do something to one group of people, our people, then they feel like it'll be done with the next group of people. If you do this to one tribe, you can do it to all of them.
Right.
Because they're going to settle for it. They forced them back while everybody else put everybody else in the forced labor, so they thought. But here it is, they can't move because they can't advance. Remember, they could not deal with them because they had chariots. So now they say, but you ain't coming down. We're going to make you stay up here. Whenever one group, because if one people say they can do it, then guess what? Everybody accepts for all of us to accept that mindset across the board. Are you following?
Yes.
Also to hold out in Mount Heres, Ahalan and Shabbat. But when the power of the tribes of Joseph increased, they too were pressed into forced labor. The boundary of the Amorites was from Scorpion Pass to Selah and beyond. Now, once again, they forced them into labor, so they believe. But Dan is still on the outside. Are y'all seeing? Set up. We can't allow these things. We can't, in this time, do this. Once again, somebody will say, but how do you keep from perpetuating this? Give them back their tools. Give them back what is theirs. And begin to follow and create our own. If it's already created, don't recreate it. Support somebody else. And my thing is, I've always said from the time I began to be on the social media, don't try to break our pockets to make your pockets rich.
Right.
Now, I understand in any field, when you are building your own business, it takes money. But when you try to break our pockets, if we can only buy from you one time,
Right.
you're in trouble. You want consistent. You want multiple sales, but you want, what is it when a person comes back? You want repeat business. Thank you. Repeat business. Sometimes people can't do that if it's too expensive. And we laugh when we see the memes about people saying, I did this. Don't expect me to lower my business for you. Don't expect me to give you anything. Why not? If you're truly in need, why shouldn't I help you? Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Why not help you get on your feet? Now, if you use me, I'm not going to help you.
Right.
But if I can help you, I will. I have no problem with helping you.
Right.
You know why? Because it ain't like so many people help me. I ain't about to lie and say, well, I'm going to help you because they help me. Oh, no, I'm going to help you because nobody would help me.
Right.
That's why I'm going to help you. And I'm not lying and saying how people will turn around and lie and say, they didn't give me no help. They didn't help me do this. When record, and my memory serves me correct, and record will always set it straight. When somebody calls you at 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning and you get up out of your bed to go and feed them, you go get them out of the situation they're in. And then 2 days later, you go and do the same thing and you don't complain. But yet they turn around and say, you ain't never did nothing for them. That's why you can't do stuff for people like that, because their memory is horrible. They get amnesia. I'll help you no more. Because I'm hurting you, because you are not really wanting help. You just want you just want to use me. Now they get angry with you. No. I don't have a problem with helping people. I'll feed anybody. I've given people money. And people turn right around and see you and laugh. We went to this fast food restaurant one night. And this lady, and this is we've been in truth, she came by and she was saying, I got this interview for this job and I need this, and I wouldn't ask you for no money. I promise you, I will bring your money back. I promise you, I need help. I said, well, I don't give money from the ministry. I said, I'm going to go in my own pocket. I don't work. Not yet. I'm building my business. I do have my business. And I said, I'm going to go in my own pocket. I said, I'm going to give it to you. I said, I'm going to give it to you. It's the only thing I ask is that we have some income. Well, let me tell you something, y'all. You meet the same people again, and they will recognize you if you don't recognize them. And I was sitting in the seat, and when we was at the drive-through window, I think it was Muna, said, we know her. And Sean started laughing. He said, yes, we do know her. And she came back and looked at me, and she laughed because she knew she had lied to me. She knows she owed me some money. And I said, I'm not worried about that money. And she came back to the window and she laughed. She said, I got those keys. And I'm like, great for you. But you know, you lied to me. You asked me to help you, and I did, and you didn't bring me my money back. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
So she had to chuckle herself because I'm sure in her mind she probably didn't ever think she would see me face to face again. But she did. But what I'm saying to you is there's nothing wrong if you have a business helping somebody. Nothing wrong at all. Because whatever you sow, guess what? You're going to reap it back. You're going to reap it back. And even if they use you, you're still going to reap it because they're the ones that's going to reap the bad end. You're going to reap the great end because you were willing to help somebody that needed help. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
And so it's nothing wrong with helping. But here we see this is a problem. It's a problem because they, when it's all said and done, settled. And the Abba is going to reprove them for this in chapter 2. He's going to reprove them. Because see, what they thought they were doing using wisdom and, we've done a great thing. The Abba is going to show them, okay, since you believe you've done a great thing, let's put it to the acid test. So in chapter 2, we see that the Malach of Yahuwah at Bochim. Let's start at chapter 2. Let's read 8 verses again, starting at verse 1.
And it is so.
And it is so.
The Malach of Yahuwah went up from Gilgal to Bochim and said, I brought you up of Mitzrayim and led you into the land that I swore to give to your forefathers. I said, I will never break my covenant with you. You shall not make a covenant with the people of this land, but you shall break down their altars. Yet you have disobeyed me.
All right, stop right there for me. Now, somebody would say, well, how did they make a covenant? By letting them stay there and making agreements and covenants. You work for us, you can stay here. Now, if you stay here, that means your lifestyle remains. What they thought they were negotiating and making something happen, they were basically pushing themselves farther and farther away from the Abba by making all of these agreements and all of these commitments and covenants with these people. And the Abba never told them to do that. So now he's addressing this issue. And the thing about us as a people is that when we tell people that, hey, you know you're in covenant with the enemy and you need to break that covenant. I can't do that. Now, I know people are fans of PayPal. Are y'all hearing me? I know people are. I do not like PayPal. I never wanted to get involved with PayPal. But because I saw them as a medium to really be able to go international, dealing with people, buying stuff from different countries. But let me tell you something. After that man bought PayPal, Amazon, right? And eBay, he monopolized and he's cornered the market to where now you can say what you want, but he does do racial profiling. This is how now they're able to do it legally under the guise of we're trying to protect you. How you protecting me? And it's my money. And you're only supposed to take my money and give it to the person that's supposed to receive it.
Right.
Now they got all these stipulations and all this stuff in place. Said because we have had this. I'm like, stop lying. Y'all know y'all ain't never had that before. But it's a means, once again, to control who buys and who sells what and where it goes and where it comes from. Now you can believe that if you want to. I'm not talking conspiracy. I'm talking realists. This is how they are able to control what you buy, what you sell, and who you connect with. Because if they basically tell you, we feel like you're a threat. How am I a threat? You ain't never had to tell me that's you can't buy this. You ain't never had to tell me, okay, you selling guns. You've never had to say anything to me like that. But because you feel like, because you have profiled me, that I'm a risk. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Y'all have to understand, what is that, the color of law? They practice stuff, and if you don't understand law, they can do and say whatever they want to. They live by PayPal. But I'm telling you something. Give it time. Eventually, PayPal gonna have stuff so many people stuff jacked up that when they shut it down, people money gonna be caught in limbo. And you're going to have so much going on. And when it's all said and done, people that have all this stuff, it's at 5 o'clock and it's here. Are y'all following?
Yes.
So what I'm saying to you, somebody say, well, how do we do that? We build a way to where we can do it among ourselves. Get the middleman out the way. Right. There was a time, I believe, when in the 1700s. Remember, the reason why the banks came into play or the notes came into play is because they said, well, you need to have somebody between you so you can make sure the deals are done. At one time, the deals were made between the two parties. And we hold the note and you just pay us and we'll give it to the people. But in that, we will take a small sum out. That's lazy. That's being lazy.
Yeah.
If you and I have a workable deal or workable relationship, if you tell me it's 5,000 and we have worked with each other and you could trust me to pay you $100, $200 a month, guess what? That's money you get. I don't have the headache of somebody calling me or whatever. If I'm late, I can call you and say, hey, look, I'm going to be late, but I'm going to pay you. Or I say, look, this is how much it is. I'm going to pay you free and clear. Give them back their means so that we can set and establish our way without having to have all these middle people in it.
Yeah.
It can be done. Somebody say, but how do you do that? Go buy you a money order. Or y'all follow me?
Yes.
Go back the old way. Well, I don't have money order. I have a check. Well, write a check. Because either way, or if you have a credit card and you have a way and you want to send it to the account, you do that. But these mediums, they need to be removed because they make more money off of you than you think. And you have to understand something. Currency, when it's caught up in its electrical system, you know how many times your money is spent before it gets to where it needs to go? How they invest your money? Like I said, people don't want to acknowledge it, but it's the truth.
Right.
That's the only reason why they do that, because then they make you feel that the person you're doing business with is a criminal when they are the biggest criminals out there.
Mhm.
If that person you want to deal with you feel is a criminal, then don't do business with them.
Right.
But don't criminalize everybody because we're trying to break away from a system that does not work for us.
Right.
Are you following me? And Diablo was angry with them. Why did he say he was angry? He said, I bought you up out of this. He said, I will never break my covenant with you, and you shall not make covenant with the people of this land, but you shall break down their altars. And they did not do that. Disobedient, just like to you. Don't go and make covenant with them. Don't be in this. And when you tell people, man, I want a house, I want this, save up and buy it. But better than that, buy land. Because one thing about a house, I don't care how much you say you own that house, you will never own that house and you will never own that land. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
Even after you pay for that house. If you are in a community and they have an association, don't pay that association fee. Your house will go up for sale. It will, if you don't pay the association fee. That's in the contract of that community. So you under more than one contract, and people think those gated communities are safe. No, those gated communities, in my opinion, is just a corral for easy pick off. And it is so.
So,
It's the truth, because they're gonna be the first ones that get hit when stuff hit, because you can't get out. One way in and one way out. You in a gated community. All they gotta do is put people and surround it. You ain't going nowhere. Put somebody at the gate, how they gonna get out? Be in. And the most dangerous place. But he told them this is wrong. All right, let's finish reading. Finish with verse 2. Read verse 2 again for me.
And you shall not make a covenant with the people of this land, for you should break down their altars. Yet you have disobeyed me. Why have you done this? Now therefore I tell you that I will not drive them out before you. They will be thorns in your sides, and their gods will be a snare to you. When the Malach of Yahuwah had spoken these things to all the Israelites, the people wept aloud, and they called that place Bochim. There they offered sacrifices to Yahuwah. Verse 6. After Yahushua had dismissed the Israelites, they went to take possession of the land, each to his own inheritance. The people served Yahuwah throughout the lifetime of Yahushua and of the elders who outlived him, and seen all the great things Yahuwah had done for Yasharal. Yahushua, son of Nun, the servant of Yahuwah, died at the age of 110, And they buried him at the land of his inheritance, at Timnath Peres, in the hill country of Ephraim, north of Mount Gaash. And it is so.
And it is so. Now listen what happened. And they called that place Bokim, for they offered sacrifices unto Abiahua. Bokim means weepers. They wept there. And my thing is, as a person, and this is the thing that I try to convey, is that you don't want to cry just because you're caught. You want to be remorseful because you realize I've done this thing and it's wrong and it has wearied the Abba. See, sometimes we cry because we're caught. But then when we walk away from it, well, it's done now, I'm just going to go on. Place, I said be remorseful about it. To where you're at a point to where you say, you know what, if I could go back and change that, I would. I am so sorry, Abiyahu. I hate that happened. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go and undo and disconnect and cut all ties that lead to that what I've done. Why? Because you want the Abba to know I'm not just crying because it's surface. I'm crying because this thing hurts. And I don't want to go back that way. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
You don't want to just cry just because you're caught. Well, we caught now, so we better muster up a cry. No, you're crying because you're remorseful. And because you know that the actions that were done were wrong. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
And it was called that place. Now listen at this. After he had dismissed the children of Yasharal, they went to take possession of the land, each to their own inheritance. Now you're going back to what's yours. The mindset. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
They're going back to what is theirs. The people served Yahuwah throughout the lifetime of Yahush and of the elders who outlived him and who had seen all the great things that Yahuwah had done for Yasharal. Yahush, the son of Nun, the servant of Yahuwah, died at the age of 110, and they buried him in the land of his inheritance at Timnath Heres in the hill country of Ephraim, north of Mount Gaash. Now, all those people at that time did what they were supposed to do. Now, this is where it begins to become very interesting and heartbreaking at the same time. Let's begin at verse 10. Let's read 8 verses.
And also all that generation were gathered unto their Abbas. And there arose another generation after them which knew not Yahuwah, nor yet the works which he had done for Yasharal. And the children of Yasharal did evil in the sight of Yahuwah and served Balaam. And they forsook Yahuwah of their fathers, which brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim, and followed other powers of the people that were round about them, and bowed themselves unto them, and provoked Yahuwah to an anger. And they forsook Yahuwah and served Baal and Ashtaroth. And the anger of Yahuwah was hot against Yasharal, and he delivered them into the hands of spoilers that spoiled them, and he sold them into the hands of their enemies round about, so that they could not any longer stand before their enemies. Whatsoever they went out, the hand of Yahuwah was against them for evil, as Yahuwah had said, and as Yahuwah had sworn unto them, and they were greatly distressed. Nevertheless, Yahuwah raised up judges who delivered them out of the hand of those who spoiled them. And yet they would not hearken unto the judges, but they went a whoring after other powers and bowed themselves unto them. They turned quickly out of the way which their Abbas walked in, obeying the commandments of Yahuwah, but they did not so. And when Yahuwah raised them up judges, then Yahuwah was with the judge, and delivered them out of the hand of their enemies all the days of the judge. For it repented Yahuwah because of their groaning, by reason of them that oppressed them and vexed them. And it is so.
And it is so. Now, the reason this becomes perplexing and it becomes frustrating, and it really begins to be, to me, as a leader, is because when you began to look at verse 10, and also all that generation was gathered to their Abbas, and there arose another generation after them which knew not Yahuwah, nor yet the works which he had done for Yasharal. How is it? You know why? Because that would be just like And it has been done. Let me back up just a moment so that I can give you an analogy. We as a people have forgotten and lost so much stuff because our ancestors and forefathers didn't think it important to pass down certain things. My great grandfather, Papa, was a medicine man, and I pray consistently that Abba Yahuwah would awaken that herbalist in me. My Ima said that he could look if you had a headache and there was a portion in the middle of your head that he could pull a strand of hair and it would cause your headache to cease. She also said that he would go out in the yard and knock bark off a tree and make a tea. Well, we know that would be the black walnut tree. And he would drink the tea. 9 times out of 10 to get rid of what? Parasites. But there was something about being an herbalist. He had all this knowledge. And when I look, I'm like, who did he pass it down to? From what I was told, he would drink a lot. That was just one of the things that they would get our people caught up in. A hob of that fruit of the vine. But who did he pass it to where it could be passed down? So now when we come to a place and we start looking at herbs, what is that for? Cat's claw. What's another one? Bloodroot. Mudwork. Yarrow root. Yucca. Wormwood. So I'm thinking, Shaitan is a liar. I ain't doing that. Sage. A sage bath. You better get out of here. Sage cools the body naturally. Christianity made us believe that if you did these things, you were walking into spiritualism and it was of the devil. All of these different roots and and these herbs that help the body naturally to keep us from going to the doctors and them playing doctor with you, experimenting on you. I firsthand know what that feels like. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
We got this new thing we want to try. I was in so much pain with Jaden, and they were saying, well, before we can give you this, we'll give you this. And because when you're not thinking long term, okay, there's anything to curb the pain. Then they turn around and now they put give me an epidural, which now contaminates my bloodstream along with the other stuff they've given me. Not to mention all the other, vitamins that they put together to give to you throughout 9 months, and you're introducing all this foreign stuff into your body. Because they want to see how well it bonds with you and how well it works with your body and how well it works with the baby's body. Not realizing the after effects or the aftermath of all of this. When in actuality, the only thing you really need when you're pregnant is vitamins. And you get that from naturally eating fruits and vegetables. You get that. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Naturally. We were not, we would laugh about it. Almond milk is a new thing. Because you start thinking almonds don't have udders. No, but they're looking at these things. And these things were not passed down. You have to understand, it's not that this is brand new. This has always been around. It's just now they're introducing it. Many of our people knew this knowledge because that's all they had.
Right.
But when it came down to it down, we didn't get that knowledge. But they would be in that kitchen teaching Becky Ann and Susie Ann, Carol Ann, and them the herbs and teaching them, or they would keep it to themselves and not tell anybody. And so by not teaching and telling anybody, it ended up dying with them. And so now when you look at these things and you're like, wow, I didn't know that. Wow, really? Wow. And then you go back to different ones and you say, hey, did you know that? He was, but no, we really didn't know much about it. He's basically a walking medicine cabinet. I would put him in the category of Dr. Sebi, Dr. Aliyah Africa, All of these. Why? Because this was something that was inherited because it was his. No, he didn't go to school for this. His Imam Papa taught him this.
Right.
But it was never passed to us. So now we get to 10. They had no knowledge because it was not passed to them. How can you tell a people something when you are so busy engulfed in their way of life and doing what they do that you forget about yours, and you forget that one day you're going to close your eyes and the people that comes after you going to have to live in your stead. This is amazing. And there arose another generation after them. It didn't say 4 or 5 years after, generations after. It said after them, which knew not Yahuwah, nor yet the works which he had done for Yasharal.
Right.
That meant moms was the word, and they kept silent all that time. This is why I say, in your lyrics, you need to tell what the Abba has done. In your testimonies, you need to show and share what he has done. In your teachings, you have to remind Yasharal of what he has done, or we will forget. He says, don't forget when you get into the land. Because he knows when it comes to him, our mind can be real short. Or our memory and attention span can be very short. They forgot. The knowledge of Yahuwah was forgotten. Important leaders and prophets are needed in all generations to preserve the knowledge that Yahuwah has given us. This is why whenever a leader, a mora is feeling pressure, this is why y'all need to pray. Because the moment the leader's mouth is shut, the moment the knowledge is stopped and it is quenched and it is dammed up. So what is going to be perpetuated? What is going to be pushed forward? Now you have to understand, many people have great ideas. Many people put out a lot of stuff. But the bottom line is it keeping us in tune and focused with the album?
Right.
This is what is important. And I learned a very great lesson onto Yom. Because if you don't keep yourself really at a point to where you understand, Abba Yahuwah, you call me to do this, and this is what I have to do because this is what you put in me. And regardless if nobody else show up, I got to do this because that word has to be put out there. Many people get frustrated with that and just say, bump it, I will digress. I can't do that. There was a song in Christianity that says something on the inside of me telling me to go ahead. No, I know what that something is. I'm not blissful or ignorant of what it is. It is the life that he's given unto me as his daughter, as his bot, to go forward and continue to be a voice, even if it's a nagging voice in the ears of many, to keep pushing and maintaining your knowledge of who he is and sharing that knowledge so it is not forgotten in the wash. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Forgotten in all the trials and the tribulations. Because the moment we forget, the moment everything, you guard it. This is why he said, guard it, guard it. Because if you don't guard it, something and someone is there to truly help you try to remove it. You have to guard it. No matter what, I ain't going nowhere. Because I need you. Not only do I need you, but I want you in my life. That's important to maintain. But it baffles me. These people did not know. Why? Because the people before them that had experienced it failed to perpetuate it and share it. Me telling you, now understand, testimonies are great, but the most important thing is me telling you about his statutes, his judgments, and his commands. Because by me telling you that, you ought to be able to see that's what has kept me. That's why it's important, even as songstress and psalmist, that your lyrics constantly focus on the knowledge and reminding Yasharal not to forget. Don't forget him. Continue to pass it down. Don't forget him. When we start focusing on what other people are doing, that's when we forget. And I just refuse to do that. I know people probably get to a point where, oh, she's just saying the same thing. I have to.
Right.
I have to. Because this is what he's given me. And I'm not going to change it till he tells me to. See, because that let me know when people get bored and don't want to hear it, that let me know, yeah, it's the right thing. Because if I was coming up with something new and trying to razzle dazzle people and just trying to make people stay, then that's how you know it's a problem. But you got to remember, you got to remain consistent.
Right.
We have to, because the enemy is remaining consistent. Let's finish reading. Start at verse 11, please. No, you finished reading all of it, didn't you, Jonathan?
Yeah, Jaden, he read.
Yeah. All right. Let's look at Balaam real quick. Clearly, they stopped following Torah and hence started serving false powers, just like to Yam. They stopped following. Now, I want to read something to you. I like reading these little footnotes. Why is it important to read these footnotes? Because it helps us to flesh out the things that they were getting into. Now, we're going to look at verse 13 as well. And they forsook Yahuwah and served Baal and Ashtaroth. Now, this is why it's important too, when we start talking about names and making sure we're saying the right name. Now, we don't say El or Elohim. Elohim is just another rendering of God. That's what it is. El means God too. We don't say El, we would say Al as power. As we say power, and I don't even say El or Al to stay safe. I just say power. And I want to show you why. Now, this is called the organizing a pantheon of many powers or deities. When the Yashraelites served the Baals, and we read that in 2 and 11, they were buying into the mythological structure of the universe understood by the local culture. The deities of the religious world of Syria, Palestine, were formed into a 4-level hierarchy, not unlike a small localized bureaucracy. The highest authorities of the Canaanite universe were the deities El and Asherah. El and Asherah. And here, the deity of Ishtar or Easter that many Christians also run after to Yam in the shape of rabbits and eggs. It's the same thing. So you got the same thing that has manifested itself into many cultures and religions that is constantly perpetuated. So when it comes down to names and we say, well, why people say, why you don't call him Elohim? Because I'm not going to use a Hebrew term to still say he's God. I'm not going to do it. This is why we say power. And this is why we say, if we don't call him Abba Yahuwah or the Abba, we just say power. Because when you start running into the prefixes or the name El and Al, that's why we don't use that term. Now, and it is, they were the deities, El and Asherah, the parents of all other powers. So according to historians, these two were the birthing place of all the other deities and powers that we see to Yam. These rulers, they assigned each of their offspring responsibilities for specific tasks in governing the world. So this is what they began to say. And remember now, this is what the children of Yasharal got themselves involved in. And this is why the Abba was so angry with them, is because in spite of what they saw when they went there and they saw the altars, they still made covenants with them. And instead of driving them out, they let them stay and they continued to let them perpetuate their way of life. Okay. The second level of deities was an especially rowdy group, as the myths recovered from Ugarit demonstrate. These powers or deities were the powers behind the forces of nature, the political fates of cities and empires, and even behind abstractions such as justice. Very powerful, they ordered the universe, promoted the welfare of their worshipers, and advanced themselves against other deities. Are you seeing this?
Yes.
Once again, this is why you can never ever let things stay. And this is why when people come out of Christianity, when you come out, you need to come out of it wholeheartedly. Don't have nothing to do with it, period. There is nothing in Christianity that will ever sway me or make me desire to go back into it. period. Conflicting interests of their divine wills explain for devotees why the world did not always operate as it ought. A third level of deities served as craftsmen and artisans for the higher deities. As specialists in the professions, their expertise was unsurpassed. They might contradict and even argue with higher level deities in order to do things they themselves knew to be folly. While they obeyed orders, they were not averse to mocking their superiors for the inferior knowledge deities had of the work at hand. At the bottom level of the divine hierarchy were the messenger deities, the Malak. They were the slave labor of the Canaanite Shemayim. The position of any of the higher deities in the four-level bureaucracy was determined by El and Asherah and could be changed at any time, particularly for misuse of authority. Yasharal's temptation to try out some of these deities sometimes was too great. We read that in verse 12, Shoftim 2 and 12. Besides Asherah, in chapter 3, verse 7, they knew of second level deities and goddesses such as Baal and Anath. The idol that Hezekiah called Nehushtan in 2 Kings 18 and 4 represents a healing deity of the third level. So you have to understand when they were getting all of these idols and these statues, all of them represented a level of what they call bureaucracy in the deity realm or kingdom. So if you had a statue of Diana in your home, then they knew what level and who you were worshiping and the purpose of you worshiping that. And so forth. So they had names and so forth. So when the children of Yasharal got involved in this is why the Abba was so angry with them, because he knew where he was going to take them. This is why, once again, I am adamant when I tell people, if you are truth, stop saying God and Jesus.
God.
Stop putting yourself in that, and you know that that is not his name, and that you know what they've done by using Jesus and God. You have place within the Son, and nowhere does the Son ever say that he was stripped or that the Abba was stripped of any of his power, and how this was an abomination, and how when they did what they did, they stripped the Abba of his name and just threw a title on him. And by giving him just a title, they removed the authority that he had. And by putting Jesus in this place, this is where now you start looking at how this stuff really begins to evolve. Because when you look at it, Jesus is a figurehead. All you got to do is look at Niacin, all that stuff they did. They knew what they were doing when they created this system. Constantine did it so that all religions would look to him. And when I was in Christianity, I couldn't see that. But now that I'm not in it, I can see it fully well. Because they drew from every religion to create Christianity. This is why when you look at the Bible, everything and everybody can use the Bible on its platform to write or read or to minister a sermon. You can't do that with the Torah, with the scrolls. Because it's specifically assigned to us as a people. You just ain't gonna open that up. Well, turn to no, we can't use that because it's not referring to what? To them as a people. Mm-hmm. So this is why it is important that we not allow this to happen. And while we follow the commandments and while we remain and keep the Devarim chapter 6, where he says, teach this to your children. Are you hearing me? Rehearse it in their ears when you rise up, when you lie down. It is important to do so. Why is it important? Because if we don't do it, it'll be forgotten. It'll be forgotten. And something else will come and take the place of what is supposed to be our lifestyle, our culture, our way. And it is so. It is so. All right, let's finish reading.
8 verses.
Mhm.
Verse 11 reads, And the children of Yasharal did evil in the sight of Yahuwah, and served Balaam. And they forsook Yahuwah their power of their Abbas, which brought them out of the land of Mizraim, and followed other powers, of the powers of the people that were round about them, and bowed themselves unto them, and provoked Yahuwah to anger. And they forsook Yahuwah, and served Balaam and Ashtaroth. And the anger of Yahuwah was hot against Yasharal. And he delivered them into the hands of spoilers that spoiled them, and he sold them into the hands of their enemies round about, so that they could not any longer stand before their enemies. Whithersoever they went out, the hand of Yahuwah was against them for evil, as Yahuwah had said, and as Yahuwah had sworn unto them, and they were greatly distressed. Nevertheless, Yahuwah raised up judges, which delivered them out of the hand of those that spoiled them. And yet they would not hearken unto their judges, but they went a whoring after other powers, and bowed themselves unto them, and turned quickly out of the way which their Abbas walked in, obeying the commandments of Yahuwah, but they did not so. And when Yahuwah raised them up judges, then Yahuwah was with the judges, and delivered them out of the hand of their enemies all the days of the judge. For repented Yahuwah because of their groanings by reason of them that oppressed them and vexed them. And it is so.
And it is so. Now, once again, he raised them up to be that standard. And the reason they were afflicted and turned over to their enemies was because what? They wouldn't hearken. Sounds like the young, don't it?
Yes.
Sounds just like the young. Why our people are defeated? Why we're constantly being bombarded with stuff? Why we can see one people get away with it, and next thing you know, we do it, and that ain't happening. You can turn around and see the people on the street. You can see a melanated brother being questioned. He's in handcuffs. You can see a European man, and you know he was just in the store still, and we just saw him, and they will have him standing up talking to him. You will see when Caucasians, European man, or the non-melanated can come and get close enough to a policeman and stab him. A melanated brother can be accused of robbing a bank. Oh, I mean, getting ready to rob a store. And there was this on Facebook, this girl, and she was so emotional, almost had me on there crying. And she was begging the young man while she was recording. She said, "Please don't move." She said, "They killed my boyfriend," and she said, "They will kill you too." Y'all, it was about 50 billion police, and they had shotguns, they had guns, and the man was on his knees with his hands up, and he was saying, "I don't even know why." I said, "Well, they called the police and said you tried to rob the store." He said, "I wasn't even there," and he was about to turn around, "Keep your hands up." She was begging and she was just crying. She said, "Please don't put your hands down." She said, "Because they're kids." She said, "Why y'all got shotguns on me?" He said, "I'm unarmed. I have no guns on me." When I tell y'all, it was one of them scenes that you would see in a movie. You would think you saw it.
Yes.
And I'm saying to myself, when are our people gonna wake up? When they gonna wake up? And he looking around and he about to put his hand down. She said, "Please don't put your hands down, please." She said, "Baby, I'm begging you, please don't put your hands down." She said, "I beg you, don't." And then they want to come over there afterwards. "What's the matter? Talk to us, talk to us." I'm like, "No, you're doing that because you want to get the sympathy of the people, making people think that you care when you don't." But this is what happened. He said, "I'll turn you over to your enemies." Now you have to understand, from them to us. And this is why it continues to be this way. When you really don't see any justice in there. And I'm talking about for us as a people. And some people say, "Well, it ain't all of the people." No, it ain't all of the people. But you better know he's speaking. And he's speaking softly now. But eventually his voice is going to become louder and stronger. And when that happens, nobody, if you ain't walking in truth, nobody's going to be able to stand. Once again, you have to understand he's given us an opportunity now to be right and to stay right. And you can't be swayed by the populace, and you can't be, you have to get to a point in your life and in your walk. Nothing out there is appealing. Nothing Christianity can give me, nothing Islam can give me. Ain't nothing out there outside of Torah truth that anybody can give me or say to me that's gonna make me want to change doing and walking in what I'm walking in. You got to get to that point in your life. I don't care if they do show you something. You say, yeah, that is a great point. I'm not changing. I'm not leaving here. I'm not. You have to get to that place. The children of Yasharal didn't get to that place until it got to them to where it was so overwhelming and they were crying. To show you that he is a great Abba, he would show pity on their crying. In spite of knowing they will go back and do it again. You know, when you get whipped, I promise I ain't gonna do it no more. I ain't gonna do it no more. I promise you I ain't gonna do it no more. I promise, I promise, I promise. 30 days, 60 days, everything go well. Then you get in trouble again. I don't know what happened. I promise I ain't gonna do it. I ain't gonna do it no more. I promise, I promise, I promise, I promise, I promise. Because until we get rid of the problem that keeps pushing us to desire to do what they're doing and have what they have, we will continue to fall on that. You can't deal with the symptoms, you have to deal with the problem. Get to the root of it. It's the relationship. It's the relationship. Do we have one with them? A real one. A heartfelt one. That even if he never says anything to you, you still gonna stay there. And even if what other people do and you look at it like, wow, boy, they, ooh, I wish my relationship with him was like that. But you know, the way they say they walk with him, I wish I had one just like that. No, I want the relationship that he wants with me. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
That's a problem. So we have to make sure and be careful we don't do that. You're following?
Yes.
Now, but when the judges, verse 19, died, the people returned to ways even more corrupt than those of their ancestors, following other deities and serving and worshiping them. They refused to give up their evil practices and stubborn ways. Sounds like to Yam, doesn't it? I ain't giving up Christianity. It's been too good to me. I ain't giving up this way because it's been that's legalism. And I don't know what got a hold of you. True. Because the moment I started walking in this, I was so elated, and I'm still elated to believe that everything I sought for in Christianity, I would have never done it. But what I sought for in Christianity brought me here. Because what was I seeking? Truth. That's why you can't tell me that if you're really seeking truth and you're in Christianity, that you won't find it. Because that was my desire to know truth. Do you not know? It took years, but I'm here. Anybody ever seen that on that Living Color? The two couples, they always be fighting each other, the old couple, and they be fighting each other and acting silly. And then at the end, they finally get to a point, look at each other, but you know what? We're still together. It's crazy. They be doing all kinds of stuff to try to hurt each other. But the gist of it is that all that time to get to truth is because that's what I wanted. And now that I have it, I'm not going anywhere. Because this is what I wanted, truth. Don't tell me we have a power and we don't know his name. Don't tell me we serve a power. And when you go and you say this, and it's for the whole congregation, but only 2 or 3 people get it and everybody else suffer. When he delivered Yasharal, he delivered Yasharal. When he gave water to one, he gave water to what? To all. Then you tell me, well, maybe it's not your season. How can you be in the summer and I'm in the winter and we in the same place? How come the rain can fall on you and it misses me and I'm in a dry, barren land and we standing right next to each other? I could never understand that. No. And I come to the conclusion and understanding because we were not willing to sell out to that. That is why we didn't get that. When you sell out to that deity and you sell out to that form of life, you're going to get what it has. There was just things that I couldn't get with it. I'm like, I can't see this being the truth. And I tried to be committed to it. When I was in it, I was in it. But I just couldn't understand how can it be that you could get a group of people and you go and you treat it like a dog and you ostracized because you don't have what they have, but you're doing the same thing they doing. to where it costs you everything you have. But yet, you ain't got belief. I don't. And I'm doing everything I know how to do. No, don't tell me that. That's a lie. But once again, as I read to you, the powers, those deities, those demonic forces, they know who they want to use.
Mhm.
They know who they want to put in position of authority. And they know the ones they don't. They know the ones that were willing to do and continue to be willing to do. See, because I wasn't going to vacillate like I don't now. When we came out of that, I said, I will not call him God and I will not refer to him as Jesus anymore. And I will not vacillate. So no, they know, no, we can't do that with her because she's not going to do that. Because I made a commitment. I said, when I got into Christianity, I was going to live like what I thought I was supposed to. Now that I'm in truth, I'm going to live like I'm living in truth because that's what you're supposed to do. So that's one of the things that is important. But our people are stubborn and they won't give up those evil practices. Therefore, Yahuwah was very angry with Yashar and said, because this nation has violated the covenant I ordained for their ancestors and has not listened to me, I will no longer drive out before them any of the nations Yahush left when he died. I will use them to test Yashar and see whether they will keep the way and walk in it as their ancestors did. Yahuwah had allowed those nations to remain. He did not drive them out at once by giving them into the hands of Yahush. So Yahuwah, I told you he wasn't going to do it because he already knew they weren't going to do it. Reason why many things are not changing for us as a group overall is because our Yahuwah knows we're not going to change. He knows some of us not going to change. Economical status, that's not going to change. Or your phone.
Yes.
He knows that. This is why things are the way they are. And until we as a people on that same, or in that same vein, desiring the same thing, we will continue to be where we are. Chapter 3. Chapter 3 only has 31 verses. Let's read 8 verses, please.
You said read how many?
8. On the chapter 3.
Chapter 3, verses 1 to 8. And these are the nations which Yahuwah left to try Jerusalem by them. All those who had not known all the battles of Canaan, only the generations of the children of Yasharal might know. To teach them battle, only those who before did not know them. 5 princes of the Philistines, and all the Canaanites, and the Sidonians, and the Hivites who dwelt in Mount Lebanon, from Mount Baal Hermon to the entrance of Hamath. And they were to try Yasharal by them, to know whether they would obey the commands of Yahuwah, which he had commanded their Abbas by the hand of Moshe. Thus the children of Yasharal dwelt in the midst of the Canaanites, the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, and took their daughters to be their wives, and gave their daughters to their sons, and they served their mighty ones. Thus the children of Yasharal did evil in the eyes of Yahuwah, and forgot Yahuwah, their power, and served the Baals and the Asherahs. Verse 8. And the displeasures of Yahuwah burned against Yasharal, and he sold them into the hand of Cushan Rish Athayim, sovereign of Aram Naharaim. And the children of Yasharal served Cushan Rish Athayim 8 years. And it is so.
And it is so. And once again, look at everything that the Abba does. Everything. They wouldn't drive them out. Now remember, they let one man go and build the city Luz with the Hittites. Now, once again, that from that place, that's an extension, and now those people grow. Now you have the Hittites plus those the Canaanites that were there. So you just got a whole lot of stuff going on. And once again, when we fail to let these things go, that's what happened. And I'm gonna show y'all something during the Sabbath. Excuse me. Many times people will stay at home, read, and at the sundown, when the sun goes down and it gets dark, they'll go and prepare, and then first day, they go to church. Yeah, many of them go to church. Why do they go to church? Because during the Sabbath rest, they won't be involved in anybody's class or get involved and be in that. Why? Because they don't want to be reminded. So they'll go to church because they like what? The fellowship. They'll do it because I've heard of many of them say it. I've seen where many of them do it. I miss this. I miss that. Why? I don't miss anything on Christianity. None of it. I don't miss their music. We got our own music.
Sorry.
And what I don't have, I'm making it up. I don't miss their stuff. Are you hearing me? Give them back their stuff. That's the only way we're going to be free. Give them back all their stuff. Now, once again, it's very important that we look at this. Now, listen at these. These are the nations that he left to test all of those. He had who had not experienced any of the wars in Canaan. Now, that means they knew nothing about fighting. So you subject to be treated any kind of way. You don't know nothing about no fighting. You have no idea what it means to pick up a sword and pick up anything to fight because you're ignorant concerning that. And that's a dangerous thing to have a people that don't know how to fight. What was that? What was it? That place that was overran?
Family.
Famran?
Ramping. Okay.
Was it? Ramfang to them. Well, they knew nothing about shooting guns. They knew nothing about warfare, and they were overran. Everybody died because they had no idea of how to defend themselves. You can kind of put them in that place. They knew nothing about that. It's like you go and they tell you pick up a gun, and you picking it up, and you're like, well, what do I do with this? Or they tell you, which we know it wasn't guns, but you pick up a sword. Some, people think, well, pick it up and swing it. No, it's more to picking up and swinging a sword. Because you can pick it up and swing it, but you don't know what you're doing. You get the crap beat out you with that sword in your hand. And then have it taken away from you and killed with it. So it's important you understand. If you don't know what you're doing, you can really get hurt. The generation of the children of Yahshua might know to teach them war at the least, such as, and that's verse 2, reading from the Abrahamic covenant, before knew nothing thereof, namely 5 princes of the Plishtim, and that means invaders, we mean the Philistines, and all the Canaanites and the Sidonites, and the Hivites, and dwelt in Mount Lebanon, from Mount Baal Hermon to the entering in of Hamath. And they were to prove Yahshua by them to know whether they would hearken to the commandments of Yahuwah, which he commanded their abbas by the hand of Moshe. Now, this is where this takes a different a turn. Now, all the stuff we see going on out in the world, these are people that are not walking in truth. Now, you have to understand, many of them have not accepted truth. There's coming a time for those of us that are walking in truth, and even those that have walked away and kind of walk in it, but they are walking in it not wholeheartedly. We're going to be tested by the nations to see whether or not we say who we really are. And the children of Yasharal dwelt among the Canaanites, Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and Jebusites. And they took their daughters to be their wives, and gave their daughters to their sons, and served their mighty ones. So once again, the Abba is showing us, no matter what, and no matter how people try to say that you can marry them and not be involved with their religion, it is a lie. It is in our people to do so.
Right.
You can't do it. And yet people continue to try to. It can't be done. Because you're going to serve their powers. And the children of Yasharal did evil in the sight of Yahuwah, and forgot Yahuwah their power, and served Balaam and the Asherah poles. Asherah poles mean that they were the deities, or that do, like the obelisk and all that stuff in front of, what is it, the Washington Monument, what is it, in front of there, all that stuff. Those things, why? Because they took on that we have to do everything they do. I said, and I'll say it again. We have to create our own platform. I remember Mona was saying we need to have our own judges or shop them, and we do. But the willing, test and pray, so that when the Abba chooses who he wants to be on that panel, it'll be accepted, and not somebody just coming and saying, well, because I'm a man, I'm going to be it, and women, they need to sit down and don't need to and shouldn't have anything to say, which is absolutely wrong. Are you hearing me? We